Welcome back everybody, Dan here. Thanks so much for joining in with me for this video. So for today's video, I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on where we are with Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now that we're at early access release number 5. But before we get going with the video, I want to mention that you probably are noticing that my voice sounds a little funny. And that's because I've been stuck at the house for the last 4 or 5 days with bronchitis. So I've been pretty daggone sick. And it's really been driving me crazy because I've just been confined here at the house, not able to do a whole lot. So I've been doing one of two things, and that's either sleeping when I'm not feeling good, or when I'm feeling okay, I come in here and I do some sim racing. That's about all I've been doing. So since I knew I was going to be stuck in the house for a while, I decided that I would hop back on Assetto Corsa Competizione and give it a try. Because quite honestly, I haven't played it since early access release 1, so the original build. And I only purchased it then really just to get the discount, and I'll be completely honest with you guys. I booted up the game for about 10 minutes, did a few laps, wasn't really impressed with it, so I went ahead and turned it off and haven't been back to it since. It's been just sitting in my Steam library, getting updated every so often as they release new builds. But now that we're in release 5, I said, you know what, I'll give it another try, see where we are at with it. And I'm happy to announce that there are many things that are much improved from both the build 1, obviously, and also there are a lot of things that are improved over the original Assetto Corsa. And then on the other side of the fence, there are some things that still need some work. So I wanted to make a quick video and kind of let you know my thoughts on it. In case you haven't tried it out yet, I think that you may want to try it out now, and that's what I'm going to basically explain in this video. So currently what is open in the main menu is a single player mode, and a very basic online mode, and then a special events. So in the single player mode, there's all the stuff that you would expect. There's practice sessions, hot laps, quick races, there's full race weekends, and even actually have a couple of endurance race options. One is a 3-hour, and I believe one is a 6-hour endurance race. I can only assume they're going to add stuff to this as time progresses, but that's what they have for now in single player. There is a career mode or a championship mode, but it is currently grayed out, so you cannot do anything with it yet. I'm assuming that that will be released in a further update. I haven't personally done any online racing, but I have gone over and taking a look at the server list, and it looks very similar to the server list in Assetto Corsa. Just basic servers. You basically click the server you want and you join it. Nothing too much to talk about there. I don't know if they have plans to make that any better, but for now it seems to be very basic. And then they have a special events tab, which is basically like hot lap challenges, much like other games have. You know, the original Assetto Corsa had it, Race Room has it. Basically, they're hot laps, and you can go compete with the community, racing by yourself and comparing lap times. In Build 5, we have 5 tracks available, and we have 5 cars available. That's up from 1 car and 1 track since the last time I tried it, which was Build 1. And basically, I believe they've been adding 1 car and 1 track each time a build is released. So currently, the tracks we have available are Zolder, Paul Ricard, Misano World Circuit, Nürburgring, and this last one I am definitely going to butcher the name, but I believe it's Hungaroring. Hungaroring. I know I'm butchering that. It's a track in Hungary. I've done some laps on it. Very cool track, but up until they released it on this game, I really wasn't familiar with it. I obviously don't know how to say it correctly. I'm sure a bunch of people in the comments will correct me on that. So on the car side of things, we've got all GT3s. We've got 5 available. We've got the Bentley Continental GT3, BMW M6 GT3, Lamborghini Huracan GT3, Ferrari 488 GT3, and the newest one is the Jaguar G3. This is probably my personal favorite. I've done a lot of laps in this car, and if you don't try anything else on this title, if you already own it, at least jump in and drive this car around some. Do a few laps because it's a lot of fun. It's got really good physics, really good sound quality. It's just really, really overall fun experience. I highly recommend you, if nothing else, hop in and drive the Jaguar for a few laps. So I've mentioned that there is some good stuff, definitely some things that have been improved over Assetto Corsa for Assetto Corsa Competizione, and I also mentioned that there's some not so good stuff. So I want to start off with the good stuff. One of my major and biggest pet peeves is the unrealistic lack of grip on cold tires in Assetto Corsa. Now, I'm fully aware, and we are all aware, that a set of cold tires is not going to stop as quickly and is not going to stop as well as tires that are at optimal temperatures. But for God's sakes, we're talking about lightweight GT3 race cars. I don't care if it's 32 degrees outside, just above freezing. These are race cars, high performance race cars on racing slicks. Even if the tires are cold, they are still going to stop, and they're still going to stop well. For whatever reason, Assetto Corsa, on the first few laps, you go to stop, and even the race cars just slide right off the track. There's this unrealistic understeer that they put in all the cars until you do like 3, 4, 5 laps. I know the idea is to warm up the tires, but it's just unrealistic. There's just way too little grip, even on cold tires, to begin with in Assetto Corsa, and I am extremely pleased to say that they have fixed this problem in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Even on cold tires, there is still optimal grip to stop. You're not just sliding off the track like you do in Assetto Corsa. Now, of course, the warmer the tires get, the deeper you can brake, the harder you can brake, and you definitely can tell that there's a transition from cool tires to warm, optimal tire temperatures, but it's not like that silly, unrealistic lack of grip on Assetto Corsa where the cars just go sliding off the track like they're on ice, because a performance tire and a performance car is going to brake well regardless, even if the tires are cold, and it's just going to brake progressively better and better as the tires warm up. So let's move along to the force feedback. I'm extremely happy with the force feedback. Compared to the first build, it's way better, and compared to Assetto Corsa, it's miles ahead. I am running this through my AccuForce wheel, but I am running only in-game force feedback. I'm not adding in any additional effects through Sim Commander because I wanted to get the just the base force feedback that the game offers. So even though I am running it through my direct drive, I am only receiving information that the game is sending to me. And I have to say, I'm super pleased with what they have gotten so far. I say the only thing that I don't really like about the force feedback here, and they may work on this in time, is there's no feeling of lateral roll from left or right. So you don't feel the body roll and the weight transfer of the car from left to right and vice versa from right to left. However, that being said, these are performance GT cars, so they corner pretty flat. So maybe it's their intention not to include any feeling of roll because it's not something you would necessarily feel in this type of race car. Next thing I want to move along here to is the overall physics. The physics model is just really fantastic here, and it's a huge improvement from what they had in Build 1. I remember hopping in and doing a couple laps in Build 1, and I just didn't like it at all, but now every car that I've driven, and I've driven them all for at least several laps, some of them more than others, they feel really good, and the tire model feels really positive, gives you a good connection with the road, good connection with the car, and you're able to control steering inputs and things like that. And actually, it's very similar, quite honestly, to R-Factor. There are some things missing, but it feels pretty similar to R-Factor, so I'd say they're moving in a correct direction. Moving right along to things that are really good is the sounds. One of the effects they have is the exhaust backfiring, and that noise resonating off of buildings in the environment and the wall and stuff like that. That's a really cool effect. I'd say it sounds very close to Race Room. Race Room still has it beat, but it's got a lot of those environmental effects that you can hear those sounds resonating off of things, and it just adds to the overall experience. I think it's really cool. So while we're talking about good things, I have to mention the AI here. The AI is actually really good in this game. I've been running them typically about 90% difficulty and about 80% aggression, and they have been giving me a run for my money. They're not doing anything crazy, they're not running me off the road and stuff, but they're definitely holding their position and fighting a tough battle. So the AI is definitely a positive for Assetto Corsa Competizione. So let's move right along to another really amazing feature about Assetto Corsa Competizione, and that has to be talked about. That is the graphics. This is one of the best looking games I've played in a while, especially in the rain. The rain dynamics and the rain visuals here, I mean, it rivals some of the best games that I have ever raced in the rain. That's Project Cars 2, Forza 7, and one of the best games that I have ever driven in rain situations is Drive Club. And Drive Club is a pretty old game now, but still to this day it has some of the best rain visuals. And Assetto Corsa Competizione is right up there with them, so it's pretty fantastic. Visually, the game looks really good. So it's got some really good stuff going for it. That's the main things that kind of point out to me as the good stuff here. And there's probably some stuff that I'm missing, but for the most part, really, really good stuff here. So let's move along to some of the stuff that I'm not so happy about. Maybe things that hopefully they'll work on and get fixed in the future. And so the very first thing, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room here, guys. There is very limited content to be used here. And that's because we're still in an early access build. But with that being said, because the game is designed to be based on a very specific type of racing, even when they finish adding in all of the content, I think it's still going to be limited on what you can do, and it's still up in the air on whether or not they will allow modding. So that will have to be determined. We'll have to see whether or not in the future they'll allow modding. I know it's not way up on their list, and you know their main ingredient here is going to be this GT3 racing, the select official GT3 cars and the select official GT3 tracks that these guys go through in the standard career. The other thing that it's not really that great, it's not a huge deal for a lot of people, but for me it is the career mode is not yet available. Like I said earlier, there is a box for it, but it is grayed out. I do like doing the career modes on games. I like racing AI. I do a lot of racing online, but I do prefer sometimes just to race AI. And after a while, it gets boring just to do a single race or a quick race weekend. It is nice to be able to hop in and do a career mode and go through a whole season. But that is unfortunately not available just yet. And the third thing that I want to talk about is obviously this game is not optimized that well yet, and especially for triple screen users and virtual reality users, the support is just very limited for those two things. And unfortunately, here's where I'm going to say something that a lot of people may not agree with me on, but here is the way I see it. The triple screen and the VR support is limited, and I wouldn't hold my breath if that is something that you are wanting to become very optimized and a main part of the game. The reason why I say that is because this is supposed to be like the official GT3 racing game for esports. And with that being said, we all know, whether you like to admit it or not, we've learned this very recently with some of the esports events going on. Esport events are just not done typically on triple screen or VR. It's typically done on single monitors. So I just don't really think that the developers are really that interested, or it's at least not at the top of the list to get VR and triple screen working perfectly, because at the end of the day, they're just aiming to get this game optimized for the esports Typically, esports are just on a single monitor, and that's just kind of the way it is. So while triple screens are somewhat implemented and VR is somewhat implemented, it may or may not get any better, guys. And I kind of would say just really not expect it anytime soon to become that much better. And I know that's upsetting to a lot of people. I mean, I'm a triple screen user myself. And so it's kind of annoying to me too because it works, but just not that great. But I think if you want to have the most fun here, just concentrate on running in a single monitor due to the fact that it's just not that optimized. So you're going to get the most performance running on a single screen. Even though that I have triple screens, I have been running on a single screen just to get the most out of the game. And the very last thing that is kind of a minor thing, but by now it should have been fixed, I think, is the mirror quality. The mirror quality, I don't understand. Even if you have the mirror quality maxed, they just look terrible. I don't know if that has something to do with the rendering settings, maybe rendering that extra image quality into those mirrors really takes a toll on the performance even more than it already is. I know they're really learning, how to deal with this new platform that they're using. So, I don't know why it is, but the mirror quality is just kind of crap, and I'm not sure if it'll get better. Hopefully it will, but yeah. So overall, guys, I really think if you haven't checked this out yet, it's time to give it a try. I mean, yes, it is limited on content, but there's 5 cars. AI is good, 5 tracks. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with that, and I think that it's becoming a pretty fun game. I think I will do some testing on the online and see how that is. I've read that it's mixed, whether or not you get a good experience or a bad experience online. I may try it out for myself, I may not. I don't know. We will see here. But anyways, guys, I wanted to get this video out while it was fresh on my mind. I do apologize for my voice sounding very funny because I'm still actually very sick. But yeah, like I said, while it was fresh on my mind, I wanted to do just my take on Assetto Corsa Competizione in its current state and early access release 5. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you tried it? What do you think? Do you agree, disagree with things I've mentioned here? And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video.